It's strange and humbling to be pitching, especially with Anka, who's going to shut me off at some point. And you guys all make it look a lot easier than it actually is. I just realized that. But I'm honored to be standing in front of you guys, pitching to entrepreneurs. I think we should do that more often. I often tell people that as a venture capitalist, I have the most fun job in the world. And that's because I get to meet people like you every day. And you inspire us all with your passion, intelligence, but most importantly, with your fearlessness. Since I have the stage today, I'll talk a bit about our fund and our portfolio companies, as Arjun requested. A bit about myself and a few things I've observed as a relatively young venture capitalist. So I work for Fidelity Growth Partners. It is a venture capital arm of Fidelity, which is a large asset manager. So Fidelity has quietly been investing in venture capital for over 4 decades now, or more than 4 decades. Almost, we're going to our 5th decade of investing. We have been pretty successful with it. Our biggest success story has been so far Alibaba.com in China, where we're the first institutional investor when it was only Jack Ma and a few people in a schoolyard. It's a very different company now, needless to say. We've also invested in companies such as Atari. I was more the PlayStation generation, but it was a very popular video game console, I heard. We invested in companies such as Wahanda and Not on the High Street in Europe, Kurum Software, Repo Software, and in Europe, our sweet spot is late venture and growth equity, which we define as companies that have a product, have a business model that works very well, and has the ability to scale globally. And by virtue of that, we'd like to write checks between $8 to $25 million, but for winning companies, we can write much larger checks. For example, Fidelity recently invested in Uber, SpaceX, and Airbnb. Those are much larger checks than we usually write. As for my personal background, you can tell from my accent, I'm not from here. Even I don't know where my accent is from, really. Lived in so many different places, but I spent a long time in South Asia. I spent time in the US. I came to the UK to study. I was at Cambridge University studying counterterrorism, basically figuring out how to fight the bad guys. There I had a bit of an entrepreneurial itch. With a friend of mine, tried to create this dating portal. The whole idea was that you speed chatting roulette with people you bump into in a nightclub but never really talked to. So learned some basic programming, made a chat server which didn't really work too well, and the idea never took off. Not surprised, it was a terrible idea. We even came up with a worse name. We wanted to call it Love and Idleness, but at least it had a Shakespearean reference to it. A few years into academia, I decided that I didn't want to be an academic. I don't want to do a PhD. So I did what was most far removed from academia as possible, which is investment banking. But fortunately, I was in tech investment banking, so I got the opportunity to work with some of the best CEOs and management team in tech. A couple of years into banking, I decided that I did not only want to advise companies, but actually be involved with the growth stories. And venture capitalists were having all the fun anyways. So I decided that I want to be an investor, and here I am. As a few things that I've observed as a relative newbie in the venture capital world that I want to pass on. Number one, when choosing who to take money from, apart from the usual criteria, which is fund size, track record, domain expertise, etc., also consider whether a fund is a patient source of capital or not. In today's environment, this is especially relevant because in the past 2 years, European venture capital has become a very, very attractive asset class, and you do have a lot of choice. So you want investors on board who understand that the path to building winning companies is not often linear, and it could take a lot more money and a lot more time than you envisioned. So you don't want guys who are only going to be with you when times are great, give you lofty advice over a glass of crystal about how not to screw up your company, but guys who stick with you, roll their sleeves up and help you when you actually manage to screw up your company. A little bit. Not completely. Secondly, when pitching to venture capitalists, and this is something I've noticed, don't tailor your pitch to appeal to what you think a venture capitalist wants to hear. Rather, almost be as anti-formulaic as possible. think of the pitch as a very honest and open discussion about your company. So don't only talk about what's great about your company. Oh, this is the biggest market in the world. We got the best traction ever. We got the most incredible team. Our chief CTO can program with what one hand tied behind his back, etc. But also talk about what sucks, about your company. Because let's face it, not every company is perfect, right? And there are weaknesses. So maybe, I've got great traction, but my new bookings isn't really growing. My CAC's too high. I don't think my sales team is too strong. We're probably going to find out what your weaknesses are during due diligence anyways. So just being open and upfront about it shows that you've thought about the problems and you're more equipped to handle them. So that's it for me. I'll be lurking around trying to find the next big thing, so please come and say hi.